Hi everyone, Crista Cowan here with another episode of The Barefoot Genealogist. Today we are talking about the new Ancestry. A lot of you have had the opportunity to try it out already. Some of you were with us through the beta and gave us some amazing feedback, which we've implemented. Some of you are still using the classic Ancestry site and haven't been upgraded yet. So today I just want to talk to all of you. Those of you who are using it have some questions about where some things are, some of your favorite features and tools. Some of you who have not yet used it might be a little bit hesitant, and so I'm hoping that this will show you some of the cool new things that we're doing on the site so that you can be excited about the opportunity to try the new Ancestry. And we are still taking feedback. So for a couple of months here, if you've got some specific feedback about some of the changes that we've made, we'd love to hear that. And I'll give you some information at the end of today's program to show you where you can give us that feedback. So let's go ahead and dive into the new Ancestry Experience, and we'll talk about some of the changes that have been made. First, I just want to highlight the fact that the biggest reason we've made some of these changes is because a lot of you were asking for better ways to share your family history, better ways to share your family story. Not only that, some of you who have just started doing your ancestry research were looking for some additional tools to be able to help with your research. And those of you who've been doing this for decades, like myself, we're looking for some new light to be shed on your research. And all of those things we think we've done really well with the new Ancestry. So today we're going to cover the facts view and the life story. And we'll talk briefly about the historical insights and the media gallery. Let's just talk about stories again for just a quick minute here. One of the things we've learned is that everybody is wired for stories. We like to listen to stories. We like to share stories. We also remember things better when they are shared in story format. And if your family's anything like mine, if I share a census record or start talking about the life of an ancestor, unless it's weaved into some kind of a story, a lot of times they don't pay attention to me, or they roll their eyes, or they tune out really quickly. But when I can weave it into a story, when I can explain the life of that ancestor in some historical context, all of a sudden there's a lot more interest. Challenge, however, is that we're not all good at creating stories. We're not all aware of some of the historical events that occurred during the lives of our ancestors without a ton of additional research. It takes a lot of information to be able to tell a good story. And sometimes it's hard to put that all together. And so one of the things Ancestry has done is we've kind of helped weave all that together. And we'll look at that when we look at the life story. Now, the question that seems to be coming up a little bit is, well, what about serious researchers? This is great for beginners. Well, I am a serious researcher, let me tell you. I have been doing this for decades. I spend hours every day doing serious genealogy research. And one of the things that I love about the new Ancestry, both the life story view and the facts view, is that it presents my research to me in a different light. So the life story presents it in one way and the facts view presents it in another. And that new light on my research has helped me discover my own errors. It's helped me, it's helped me uncover places where I could shore up my research a little bit better. It's helped me find mistakes in standardization, all sorts of things. So I really love the new Ancestry, both views, because of this. So let's talk first about the facts view. The facts view is much like the timeline view in the classic Ancestry that most of you are familiar with. One of the benefits of the changes we've made to the facts view page is that it's improving the quality of research that's being done. The genealogical concepts that are necessary to make sure that we're climbing our own tree and not somebody else's are put front and center. That focus becomes then on documentation and evidence and sourcing your facts. It is a little bit of a simplified workflow. It makes it easier for new people to learn it and to use it. And it's completely integrated with the life story and the hints and the gallery. So you make changes on this facts view, which as a researcher is my home page. You make changes to this facts view, and those changes are propagated throughout the other pages that pertain to this individual. Now I'm just going to put up here a side-by-side view so that you can see. Here is the classic view of Ancestry here on the right, And here on the left is the new Ancestry Experience. Couple of things that you'll notice. One of the things that a lot of you asked us about was to make changes so you didn't have to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling through the timeline. So you'll see here in the new Ancestry, that timeline has been tightened up so that those facts are a little bit more compact and concise so that you don't have to keep scrolling. But those facts are still there, just like they were there in the old view, they're here in the new view as well. On the right-hand side of the page, you'll notice we still have the parents listed, the spouse and the children listed. They're in the same location. None of that has changed. The big change that we've made to this page, and this is the one that I'm thrilled about, is that we've taken those sources that used to be buried down at the bottom right-hand side of the page, and we've brought them up right front and center. And we've done that very intentionally because we want to make sure that everybody understands, people who are new to this, people who've been doing this for decades, that those sources are what give that validity and that accuracy to your family tree. And so we want to be able to see exactly what sources are right there, like I said, front and center in your tree. So let me just share with you here live. Here is my great-great-grandfather's page. You'll see I've got the facts, I've got the family, and then I've got these sources. One of the changes that we've made to the sources is that if you click one of them, it's now going to show you every single fact about that person that is supported by that source. And as a genealogist, that's really important to me to know what documentation I have for every single fact in my tree. And so I can just click through each one of these sources and it will show me exactly what facts are supported by that particular piece of documentation. I can do the same thing with any one of the facts in my tree. So I can click on any fact in my tree and it will show me exactly which sources support that fact. Excuse me. As a researcher, again, that's really important to know exactly what documentation I have. It's going to help me see what holes I still have. It's going to help me understand maybe what things I've put in my tree without documentation that I need to go out and research and source a little bit better. Now I can double click on any one of these sources and it will open up information about that source. I can go directly to view the image. I can view the record page. I can look at the citation details and edit any of those. I can look at a list of the associated facts, and I can look at the associated media that I have for that. Now remember, where media is concerned, those media items should always be attached to a source, not to a fact. Okay? So for example, if I have a birth certificate, I'm not going to attach that birth certificate as a media item to the birth fact. Genealogically, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm going to create a source citation for that birth certificate, and then I'm going to attach that source to any one of the number of facts that that birth certificate asserts. So for example, a birth certificate doesn't just assert a fact about the birth date and place. It also contains information about the name and the gender and the parentage and possibly residence, maybe occupation of the father, right? So there's lots of pieces of information on a birth record. So I want to, again, I'm going to attach that birth certificate, that media item, to a source that I create, and you can do that by clicking the little add button to create your own sources. And then I'm going to attach that source to my facts. So again, this is just forcing us or moving us into a situation where as genealogists, it's forcing those facts and those sources right front and center so that we're a little bit more conscious of them. Again, so that we make sure we're climbing our family tree, not somebody else's, so that we're putting in accurate information. Now, some of your old favorite features are still here. They just look a little different, so I want to make sure you all know where to find those. The first one that I get asked most often about is the relationship feature. So if you have the home person set in your tree and you can click on any person in your tree, and right underneath their death date, you're going to see this relationship. So he's my second great-grandfather. I can click on that. It's a link, and it now shows me exactly how I am related to this person. So it goes from him to me, showing me the path of our relationship. So that feature that you know and love from the classic Ancestry, still available. Another feature from the classic Ancestry that a lot of you have asked about are notes and comments. So over here under the Tools menu, I can click to view notes, and I love this. I get giddy about notes. I take a lot of notes in my family tree, and I can now just have them open here in this side panel as I go through my tree information, and I think that that's great. In the classic Ancestry, it was a pop over, and I could only view it, the notes, and then I'd have to close the notes in order to go back and view my tree. Excuse me. And so this way, I can keep the notes open as I continue to do additional research in my tree, and I am loving that feature. The note or the comments, that's notes. Notes are private. Only the tree owner can see those notes, even if the tree is public. I use them to keep my research notes and to transcribe documents as I go through the research process. A lot of you also utilize the comments feature. Comments are public if your tree is public. They're also viewable if your tree is private to anybody you've invited to your tree. And so comments are where I can leave notes about people in my tree so that if anybody's looking at this person, they have that information available. Also, if you want to leave notes on or comment on somebody else's tree, the comments are going to be the place to do that. So notes and comments, again, you're going to find those under the Tools button. That's also where you're going to find your Merge with Duplicate option and directly to view this person directly in the tree. Under the Edit button, you're going to see information about editing the relationships of this person. Again, this is a feature that's always been available. We've just moved it to a little bit more of an intuitive location here under Edit. Now you can see I can edit the relationship to anybody that we've attached to him. So the default relationship when you add parents or children is always biological, but you can change that. And then you can add alternates. So if I've got a biological parent and an adopted parent, I can add both of those. You can also change the relationship of the spouse here. For example, if two people have a child together, the default when you add parents to children is that those parents are married. Of course, we know that's not always the case, so I can change that relationship here under Edit Relationship. So again, great tool that's always, or great feature that's always been available, still available now. We've just moved it under that Edit button. So that's the facts page in a nutshell. We do have one more toggle I want to show you here, and that is this ability to turn on and off family events and historical insights. So there's two things that a lot of you have asked us for, and one of those is to be able to view the events in a family in the timeline of an individual. So for example, this great-great-grandfather of mine had two sons. And so the birth of those two sons is a significant event in his life. And now I can turn on family events and they're going to show up in his timeline. You'll notice they're grayed out and I can't edit them. I can edit any one of the other white facts on this list, but the facts that are grayed out I can't edit. And that's because his son Robert, his birth date and place is actually coming from Robert's profile. So if I want to change any information on that, I have to go to Robert's profile to change that. So it's just pulling information from other family members' profiles. So you're going to see things like the birth of children and the death of parents. Again, things that affected the lives of our ancestors are going to show up on that timeline. If you don't want to see those, you can hide them. So I can click Hide Family Events. That is a sticky feature, which means once I hide family events, they're hidden from anybody's facts view until I turn them back on. So that is just a quick overview of the new facts view. Again, I love it. I love the clean lines and the way that we've put those sources right front and center. And I'm just really excited as a researcher to use this particular page going forward to continue to document my family history research. Let's talk about the Life Story page now. The Life Story page for many of you is the default page. So it's the page that comes up very first when you come into the new Ancestry Experience. And so a lot of you aren't aware that there are these other views, and you've kind of gotten stuck on this Life Story view. The tabs to go to the other views are just right here at the top of the header. So I can go to the gallery, I can go to the hints, So life story. And wherever you land, so if I'm on the facts view, for example, now this becomes my default view. So anytime I go look at anybody in my tree, this is going to be the default view until I go to view something else. So that's how that works. Now, the life story view, excuse me, the life story view has a few specific purposes. One is to make it interesting for family and friends. So I have shared my tree with my parents and one of my brothers, and when they used to come to the old timeline view in the classic Ancestry, they didn't have a clue what they were looking at. They got bored very quickly. But now, this new life story view, they'll come and they'll view all my hard work, and they'll see some narratives written about this person. They'll see a map, they'll see some photographs. I can decide what to include and what not to include in this life story view. But it gives them a place to start to consume the information about our family history that might not have been as consumable to them before. And that's exciting to me because all my hard work, I'm doing it for my family, and I want them to be able to enjoy it. And this gives them that opportunity without a lot of extra work on my part, or I can put as much extra work into it as I want. The other reason I love the new life story is because, again, as a researcher, anytime I can see my research in a different light, it's going to shed light on some of my own errors, some of the inconsistencies in the way that I've recorded data, and all of that is useful to help me keep a clean family tree. So in this life story view, what you're going to see is that there's these little narratives that have been automatically written based on the information you've included in your family tree. So there's going to be a life summary at the top, and then as we scroll down, there's going to be little 1 or 2 sentence statements written about each fact, some of the major facts. Now you can include any facts you want to in the life story view. You make that decision from the facts view. So if there's something not here in this life story view that you want to include, you can go ahead and add that, again, from the facts view. You do have the ability to edit any of these individual pieces of information, but I would only use that edit feature if I was going to add information, add color, add details. If you want to change any of the basic facts, the dates, the places, the names, you're going to want to do that from the facts view again, because these two things are super integrated. And so if I was to change the marriage date here, for example, it's gonna disconnect the marriage date from the life story and the marriage date from the facts view, and from my source citations. So if I wanted to edit information about this marriage, maybe what I want to do is add information about who was in attendance, or who it was that married them, or the fact that they got married at her grandparents' home or the courthouse, details like that, again, that are going to enrich the story. But if I want to change any of those facts as far as the date or the location, I'm going to want to flip back over to the facts view and make that change on the marriage fact based on the source citations that I have that include information about that. Okay, so that's how those are created, is from those facts, and that's how you can edit them as well. Now, there's a couple of other things here on this life story view. Again, we also have family information, which is fantastic, and we have historical insights. And again, just like on the facts view, you can toggle those on and off so that they are either hidden or shown in that life story view. Because the life story view is not a research home, I'm probably going to leave those on because I want my family members to be able to see that information. So let's talk about these historical insights. Historical insights are events that your ancestors may have experienced. And Ancestry search computers are working kind of behind the scenes, looking at what you've entered in your tree about this person as far as dates and locations go. And then we suggest or hint historical insights based on the information you've entered in your tree. So for example, if my ancestor lived in New England in 1888, I might get this hint for the Great Blizzard of 1888. It's an event that might have seriously affected their life or seriously impacted their life, or it might have been just no big deal. But I get the choice to make that decision. So I can review this hint, you know what, and if I don't want it included in my timeline, if I don't think it was pertinent to their life, I can just disregard it or ignore it, and it goes away. If I feel like it had a major impact on their life, like let's say, for example, that next year, all of their crops failed and then they moved west because they didn't feel like they could continue to live in New England and grow crops because of the terrible weather, then that had a very direct impact on their life. And I might want to keep that information, and so I can review it and then keep that information in the historical timeline. So these historical insights, there are hundreds and hundreds of them. We're only ever going to show you 2 at a time on anybody's timeline, and they will have a little leaf hint until you either accept or ignore them. If you ignore them, they go away, and you may or may not get a new hint. If you keep it, then we'll serve up another hint if it's available. But the benefit for this is that as a genealogical researcher, I'm getting hints to historical events that it might not have ever occurred to me to research, to learn more about. And they are very possibly very real events that might have affected the lives and the choices of my ancestors. So I think this is fantastic, but we give you the option whether you want to see them or not and deal with them or not. Just toggle on and off this hide or show historical insights button here on that life story page. So that's how that works. Let's talk about the media gallery briefly. There are still some big changes, and we're still implementing a lot of your feedback in the media gallery. So I will be doing an entire video about the media gallery coming up in the future, in the near future, once all those changes have been implemented that have been requested and that we've figured out can work. So I'll just do a brief overview of the media gallery right now. On any person page, you can click on gallery, and it will take you to the media gallery for that specific person. So you can see here is a photograph that I've uploaded to this person. You'll also see here any of the documents or media images that Ancestry has attached to this person because I've attached a record that I found on Ancestry for this person. Okay, so all of those now are in the media gallery, which I just think is great. I've got them all in one place. I can continue to upload media items. I can also add stories. I can upload any kind of a story or document that I've created, or I can create my own story. If I want to just write a story directly into the media gallery, I can do that as well. Now, this media gallery is by person, right? So I'm looking at the gallery for park. If I want to look at the gallery for my whole tree, I can also do that here in the tree view. I'm just going to click on this little link, Tree Pages. There is a link for Media Gallery, and that's going to take me to the Media Gallery for my entire tree. So 2 different ways into the Media Gallery. One is by person, and one is from the tree view. Okay? Let me just show you a kind of, again, a side-by-side comparison here. You'll see there's a lot more images now viewable in the media gallery. And like I said, we've now included all the images attached to that person, not just the images that you've uploaded. A lot of you asked for that, and so now there they all are in one place. You'll notice we've also moved the name or the naming conventions of those images up onto the image itself. You can click on any one of those images and make whatever edits or deletions that you need to make. So here is how you can get to the new Ancestry. If you have not yet tried it out, you can just go to ancestry.com/new ancestry and click there to be included in the experience. You do still have the option for a couple of months to switch back and forth between the classic Ancestry and the new Ancestry. When you switch back to the classic Ancestry, make sure that if you're doing it for a really specific reason, if there's something missing or something you're not quite sure how to do in the new Ancestry, that you give us that really specific feedback so that we can make sure that we've included the things that you need or that we've let you know where to find that information. But I love the new Ancestry. I think it's great. It's great for new people coming into family history. It's fantastic for those of us who've been doing research for a really long time. again, to be able to surface and see some of our errors and our inconsistencies, and to be really conscious of documentation and source citations as it comes to the information that we add into our family tree. Well, that's all I have prepared for you today. I hope you'll try out the new Ancestry. Be sure to leave a comment if you're watching this video on YouTube. Let us know what you think, what you'd like to see, what your favorite things are about the new Ancestry, and we'll all share together. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.